Cleveland at Boston, Dallas at OKC, two NBA games. We're going to take a deep dive into both. Marco D'Angelo will be first up. He's going to look at the Cleveland and Boston game, as well as a baseball game. Ralph Micahels will look at the OKC Dallas game and a baseball game as well, and he's got a chart coming our way. We're going to end the show with Kyle Anthony, two UFC picks. I'm Lawrence Pressman. You're watching WagerTalk Today, the best daily sports betting show on the planet. My co-host, the wonderful, incredibly sexy, and man who was voted with the world's best hair, Teddy Covers. And what is your big game breakdown?
Big game breakdown. We're going to talk Knicks-Pacers game 3 for Friday night. Worth noting, Marco's MLB. And Prez, I was about to give you compliments for maybe your best opening ever. And you're like, you're throwing out a baseball game. You got to tell them what games we're going to talk about. The Cardinals and the Brewers, Marco's going to talk about, and Ralph will talk about the Guardians and the White Sox. So let's get into it. WagerTalk Today, right now.
Okay, well, so 8.5 out of 10 on the opening. Room for improvement.
No.
7 out of 10 on the
10
opening.
Out of 10, and then you botched it. And you get an F.
What number?
You get a 2.
A 2 out of 10. Dan, let's cue up the
opening. You're on pace for
again.
a 10, and then when you don't, you were rolling. It was as good an intro as you've ever done. And you're like, he's going to talk about baseball. What baseball game is he going to talk about? You got lazy.
Okay.
You almost did it.
There we go. Room for improvement. The Prez will do better, everybody. Marco D'Angelo joining us. Marco is rolling. Number one handicapper at WagerTalk the last 30 days. Up huge profits since January. Welcome to the show, my brother. Always good to see you. Why are you not picking me up at the airport on Tuesday as my official drug mule?
Oh, Prez, I got some busy day Tuesday. Sorry, bud.
So
busy day.
So I called Marco on the phone yesterday. I'm like, dude, I need my edibles. You picking me up at the airport? Because, you locals get them for like quarter of the price. He said, no, Teddy will handle it. So, Teddy, you're drug muling for me on Tuesday.
No. Thank you for the offer, but it's okay. You can drug mule yourself.
Well, that's nice, Marco. I'm taking him and Kara, spending $800 on these two schmoes to see the dead, and he won't pick up some edibles for me on the way to dinner. Okay. Noted. Okay, Marco. St. Louis playing Milwaukee. The Cardinals are minus 135. You like them in the first 5 innings. Tell us why.
Well, we got Sonny Gray on the mound for St. Louis. He was scheduled to go yesterday, but that game was postponed, so we get him today. And there are 5 starts this season for Sonny Gray. The Cardinals are 4-1 in those 5 starts. Why? Well, because Sonny Gray has only allowed 3 earned runs in 30-plus innings of work this season, and he's had a strikeout-to-walk ratio of 38-5. Now, that tells me he's been in full command of all of his pitches and fooling the hitters. For Milwaukee, they're going to send Tobias Myers to the mound, and it's been just the opposite for him. He's had 3 starts. He's gone just a total of 13 innings, and he's allowed 9 runs in those 13 innings of work. Milwaukee's also coming home off of a road trip. You know how I feel about that. I like to fade those teams in that first game back. Now, I will admit, neither team is setting the world on fire right now. Both St. Louis and Milwaukee are struggling, but I'm looking at the starting pitchers, and there's such a huge mismatch between these 2 starting pitchers that I am going to go ahead and make a play in this game. And because I like the starting pitcher advantage so much, why worry about involving the bullpens? That's why we're going to make it a first 5-inning wager today, and I am going to go ahead and take St. Louis with Sonny Gray and make them a first 5-inning wager today.
So I'll start with this. I wrote up the Cardinals as my free play as well. That being said, it didn't make the client card, and the reason it didn't make the client card is because St. Louis can't hit their way out of a wet paper bag right now. And that's my biggest concern about the Cardinals. This lineup just isn't hitting anyone. You talked about the issues with Myers so far this season. It's been all the gopher ball. He's given up 5 home runs in those 13 innings of work. I think every run he's given up this year, or most every one but one, has come via the long ball. But the Cardinals aren't hitting bombs. They're not hitting anything. What do we do about this St. Louis offense? Do we trust them enough to get runs even against a pitcher who may not be at his best?
I think if they get us 1 run, we've got a very good shot of winning this first 5 inning wager. If they get us 2, I think we put the W up. I don't think we need much today the way Sonny Gray has been pitching. I really expect Sonny Gray to toss some goose eggs because this Milwaukee team, they're scoring more runs than St. Louis, but they're just not playing good baseball. They're giving up runs, and a bad pitcher can wake up a slumping offense, that's for sure. And that's what I'm counting on.
Marco D'Angelo joining us. Marco, we already spoke about how hot you are. What do you got going for the clients tonight?
Well, I do have a baseball play that I like tonight a lot. It is my 4% MLB game of the week. You can check that out. That's our featured play today. I will have some more plays on the card coming off a 3-0 night last night. So take advantage. We still are running that special, Prez, where you can pick up 11 days of service for the price of 7. It is absolutely the best deal going right now. You get every play that we have in all sports. So you got everything running right now, baseball, basketball, and hockey. Nothing better than playoff hockey and playoff NBA action. So grab that 11-day package.
Yeah, Marco. So I've had a great NBA playoff so far. I'm up 19 units of profit on a 12-6 run, but one of my losers was the under in game 1 between Cleveland and Boston. It was 2-11. It missed by 4 points, 2 buckets, and it really came down to that first quarter. It was a massive first quarter of points, and then it slowed down and almost got there. You like the under tonight, and I agree. Where are we going here? Why? Tell us, help us, teach us.
Okay, well, in game 1, as you said, the game did go over the total, and it went over because Boston put up 120 points in a 120-95 blowout win. Now, the knee-jerk reaction for game 2 would be Cleveland was in a bad scheduling spot going into that game. They were coming off that grueling 7-game series against Orlando just 2 days before, and they scored 95 points in that game. So people are going to figure Cleveland to be the team to improve, and they're half right. And they figure if they scored 95 in that game, they score anything more than that in game 2, this thing really soars over the total because they expect Boston to do what Boston does. Well, here's the problem. Cleveland was tired, okay? Tired teams do not play defense. I'm sorry. It takes more energy to play defense than it does to play offense. And if you go back and look at Cleveland, what they did is they played last Friday. They played in Orlando game 6. Then they came back home on Sunday, 2 days later, played game 7, and then right back out on the road for game 1 on Tuesday. That's 3 games in 5 days in 3 different cities. They were exhausted, okay? And if you remember the game 7 on Sunday, Cleveland was down big early. They had to put up a big defensive effort to get back in that game and pull out the win. Now they go to Boston in game 1, and Boston just shot the lights out of the basketball. 49% they shot from the field. The previous 2 games, Cleveland held Orlando to 33 and 39% shooting. You're going to see Cleveland play better defense tonight, put more effort on the defensive end. Yeah, Cleveland might score a couple more points if they're shooting the ball better, but Boston's not going to run away and score 120 points tonight. I am looking for this one to go under the total. Knee-jerk reaction, I feel, by the public's going to be to take the over based on it going over in game 1 and Boston's been scoring. Cleveland will come and play defense. That's the only chance they have in staying in the game. They can't run and gun with Boston. They got to slow it down, and I think that's what happens tonight. And I'll give you 2 stats that support it. Cleveland this season on the road, after a game where they failed to cover the spread, they're 17-8 to the under in the next game. And when playing on the road with revenge, this season when the opponent scored 110 points or more in the win, as Boston did on Monday. 10-2 to the under. I'm going to go ahead and take the under tonight. It's at 212.5. We've seen it tick up from the opening line. I'll go ahead and take under 212.5.
So you said that you thought that tonight the effort's going to be on the defensive end of the court. And yet, when I look at the Cavs quotes, they're all about on the offensive end of the court. Donovan Mitchell, we got 42 threes up. We hit 11. I think the biggest thing now is being able to hit and knock them down. JB Bickerstaff, I thought we created open shots. I think we got some of the looks we were looking for. They just didn't go. We missed 4 or 5 layups in the second quarter. Typically, we make those. We got open threes from guys we want to take them. We'll make more of those as the series goes along. Both those are overquotes, at least in my mind. Any thoughts?
Well, in my mind, I look at it another direction, Teddy. If you hit some of those shots, when you miss a shot and you miss a three, what happens? It's generally a long rebound, right? And it's generally a transition bucket moving up the court the other way. If you make some shots, you got to inbound. Then you got a chance to set your defense. You're not playing transition basketball. So, yes, in theory, if you make more shots, you're putting more points on the board for yourself, but you're also eliminating transition points off of misses and rebounds. You can look at it, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? Depends on which way you want to read that. And I'm reading it the other way, my friend.
Marco D'Angelo, brother, thanks for joining us. You're the best. We've promoted you. We've heard your thoughts. You like the under in Cleveland and Boston. St. Louis Cardinals first 5 innings. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
Nope. Just take advantage of that. Pay for 7 and get 11. There's nothing more Vegas than 7 come 11, right?
Yeah, 724.
This is true.
Right? I mean,
but
that's
we're not offering
Vegas.
20. Yeah, we're not offering 24 for 7. Okay, maybe we'll do it for you, Prez.
Hey, I'm in. I love when the clients are betting me, brother. Marco D'Angelo, everyone. Teddy, before we get into your big game breakdown, just a quick message from me. I had a 4% play last night. I was on a 16-0 run. My 4% bet was on the Edmonton Oilers. Oh, my God. They're up 4-1, that stupid team. They end up losing 5-4. They completely fell apart. Stuart Skinner, their goalie, let in just horrible goal after horrible goal. That's one of those rare losses, man. That's one of those runners, 2 outers on the river. But it happens, and we move on. Did not take it well. Ended up going to sleep very late last night. But alas, we have a new day today. What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Let's talk about what we learned, because this is unique. And there aren't that, I've been in Vegas since 1998. And I don't, I'm pretty jaded. There aren't a lot of things that I'm like, I haven't seen this before. This is something I really haven't seen before. All right. Villanova won 3 national titles under Jay Wright. And the last 2, 2016, 2018, with a trio. Dante Vincenzo, Josh Hart was only there for one of the 2, and Jalen Brunson. And when you think about life, you have different chemistry with the guys you grew up with, on and off the court, especially guys that you have success with. You were in championships in high school with a team, you have a different relationship with those guys forever. All right. The Pacers were 9-0 straight up, 9-0 ATS coming off a loss coming into last night's game. They got to 121 points. That's supposed to be enough to win or cover, but it wasn't. What happened? The Villanova trio were insane. All right. Vincenzo and Brunson were drafted at the 2018 title. Hart won in 2017. They played 44, 44, and 48 minutes in game 1. Hart and DiVincenzo, again, 48 and 44 last night. Brunson had to go to the locker room for the second quarter, so he missed time. But basically, that trio isn't leaving the floor in May after the rigors of a long regular season. Hart and DiVincenzo played 81 games in the regular season. Brunson played 77. And here's Brunson coming even after missing a quarter. came a couple of buckets away from scoring 40 or more in 6 straight playoff games. Only 2 players in NBA history have done it in 5 straight, like Brunson just did. Billy Donovan's Florida Gators with Al Horford. They made some noise in Atlanta a little bit, but nothing like this. The Knicks right now are doing something unique and special. That said, they might be living on borrowed time. Too many minutes for all the stars, too short a rotation. There are dumber bets to make than Pacers to win the series right now. Sharp money came in on that this morning at plus 400. Now I'm seeing plus 330, plus 340 at Indiana to win the series. The Knicks have played brilliantly. The trio has played brilliantly. Last night's offense was exceptional. We'll see if they can do that again moving forward. We'll talk more Knicks Pacers when it comes to big game breakdown in just a few moments.
Great take, Teddy. But I will say this: they're not old. I mean, these guys are young, and you know, it's good for the NBA when the New York Knicks are winning. So let's see what happens. Ralph Micahels joining us. Ralph, you're the best, bro. Love having you on the show. Love waking up to seeing Slack messages about how I am wording my sales pitches. You got our backs, dude. Teddy, it's a regular occurrence. Like, Prez, you should say this. Prez, you need to say that. And he's always right. Anyway,
yeah, the fact that you've been doing this for 25 years and can't write a sales pitch without having Ralph correct you.
I can write a sales pitch.
Ralph doesn't correct me every day, Lawrence.
Shut up, Teddy. I can write a sales pitch, but that doesn't mean Ralph can't improve it.
All right, Prez, I have a very serious question to ask you. Now, we all joke about being superstitious. Did you jinx yourself last week by saying that your favorite team was the Oilers and then go out and you use them for that 4% last night?
No. I feel good. It was the right call. We had a run or two outer on us. We aced a couple of aces against aces, and the guy ran a 4-card on the board flush. These things happen. You move on. But I just love watching the Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche play hockey. I mean, if you guys have never watched hockey in your life, watch those teams play. It's absolutely beautiful. Anyway, fair question, Ralph. Let's turn our attention to the NBA. And man, we got a series or not in OKC. Shea's the best player in basketball, and he's Canadian. Yes. -5 at home against a Dallas team that has to win this game. Where are we going here?
Well, Prez, I'm going to start with your statement right there. Has to win. Having to win means you have pressure. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the zigzag theory and how that is not only dead, it's been the complete opposite. Since 2015, I did exclude the COVID year. When a team wins game one as a home favorite, they are 60-15. They've won 80% of those games in round two, and they've covered 66.7% of those games. When I take away small favorites and take favorites of 2 or higher in series game two, they're 69%. When I take away the highest totals, they're 73%. So those teams in this situation that won game one as a home favorite has actually won 85% straight up and covered 73%. Now, Donick is not going to go 6-19 again and shoot 1 of 8 from 3, but I will tell you this. I watched what Dort did at the Pelicans and what he did against Luka in this game. He's been amazing. The guy scored 7 points, and he may be, if he does what he does again in the next couple days, he will be the MVP no matter how many points he scores on the defense he's done. I mean, they were trying to do screens and get Dort off of him. He only made 3 shots from the field. He only shot 3 shots with Dort on him. OKC, only 9 turnovers, a huge turnover edge. And I'm actually going to use first half -2.5. OKC was number 3 in the NBA in first half points per game diff. Dallas was all the way down to number 15. And the only first half team with a worse point per game diff that's still in the playoffs, the Indiana Pacers. Dallas also a poor free throw shooting team. We saw that in game 1 where they shot 17 of 25. I don't want to go whole game because I think, Dallas can figure it out, but both teams are making adjustments. I will take the better team here in the first half, -2.5. Color me OKC first half play.
Yeah, we might not see an MVP that was born in the U.S. for the next decade. When you think about Shea, Luka, Joker, obviously, Wembanyama, all the foreign-born players in the association who are the best players in the league right now and may well be moving forward as well. But part of my rationale for looking at Indiana plus the points last night was how good the Pacers have been coming off a loss. They were 9-0 straight up in ATS in that role. Dallas is another team that's been very good at bouncing back off a loss since the All-Star break. And when we look at their previous playoff history, well, they lost game 1 against the Clippers, bounced back in game 2. They lost game 1 in their last playoff run in 2022. They lost game 1 against Utah, won the series. They lost game 1 and game 2 against Phoenix, won the series. They lost game 1 against Golden State and gave them a battle. So they've been adept at losing game 1s and then bouncing back for game 2, both this year and in seasons past. Does that concern you here?
Well, Teddy, I actually just went to the database as you were looking. You are correct. They are 11-3 ATS off a loss on the road. But I'll tell you what, in the first half, they've actually gotten outscored, Teddy, 57.6 to 55.6. So even though they've won 9 of those 14 games and they've covered 11 and 13, I don't need them to lose the game. I just need them to lose the first half. And that's the way the situation is lined up.
Ralph Micahels. Ralph, you have been rolling, man. You're having an outstanding baseball season. Congratulations. What do you have going with the clients tonight?
I just have one MLB play. It's starting in 35 minutes if you want to jump on that. But I just did post an NBA 5% play for tomorrow. Number 1 in the NBA playoffs in profit. 15-3 NBA playoff run. And I have had, I've won 6 straight 5% since March the 6th in the NBA. So 2 full months. I've only had 3 NBA 5% plays. All of them have won. Number 4 is loaded up and available right now at WagerTalk. And again, why spend $35 for one play when for just $64 more, you can get 11 days of service with the 7-Eleven special?
Well said. Ralph, Cleveland, they're playing the Chicago White Sox. We know how bad the White Sox are. Where are you going in this game? How should we bet a -170 Guardians team on the road?
Well, I'm going to say this. Teddy may very well have the same follow-up for me as he did with Marco, saying, how the heck can you back a Cleveland team that's averaging 6 hits per game the last 5 days? Well, let me go into that. Before I even start that, I want to say this. Prez, I actually think the White Sox are a team you have to start looking at. Your statement was correct. They are only 9-28 on the season, but they are actually 6-6 plus 3.6 units since April 26th. So those are the kind of sneaky teams that I like to look and play on. But the problem is this. When people play the White Sox, some teams may look past them. Don't give their entire effort. But when you are a division foe playing a crappy team like this, you have 100% focus against division opponents. In fact, the White Sox are only 2-18 versus division foes, getting outscored by 2.7 runs per game. They're 1-11 in series game number 1. The average loss by 5.3 runs per game. Cleveland has only been an away favorite 3 times this year of -120 or higher. They've won all 3 games by an average score of 8.7 to 2.3. Now, Thaddy is really the one pitcher you don't really want to step on in front of the White Sox, and he has pitched very well. He is off a poor performance where he gave up 5 runs. And again, the Indians are struggling, but they're doing one thing very well. They're still scoring runs. In the last 5 games, they've averaged only 6 hits per game, but they're averaging 5 runs per game because they've hit a home run in each of those games. They have 9 home runs and 14 walks in the last 5 games. And boy, I like Lively. I didn't even really know who Lively was. He pitched with the Reds last year, and now he's making his 5th start. He has put up wonderful numbers on the season, a 2.08 ERA, a 1.106 whip. Last 3 starts, he has a 1.62 ERA. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 1.5 runs in this game. We have the superior bullpen, and actually we're going to get plus money or pick them. They're like plus 101 or plus 100 on the line. So give me Cleveland minus 1.5 runs, plus 100 against the White Sox with Lively and Teddy.
No, that's not my follow-up's going to be, Ralph. It's a good because you killed that opportunity right from the get-go. But I want to focus in on something you said at the very beginning of what you were talking about. You're like, first, I think maybe the time to bet on the White Sox is now after that awful start. And Chicago's 6-6 their last 12 ball games. All right, they're not 8-29 or whatever it is. They're 6-6 when we look at current form. Fetty's been their best pitcher. They've won 3 of his last 4 starts. And he's the one guy you can say, yeah, maybe we can make money with this particular hurler. Do any of those move the needles for you towards the White Sox side? And the fact they're playing better ball, the fact that they have their erstwhile ace on the hill today, because Cleveland's not a team, the Guardians not a team I'm comfortable laying this price with on the highway.
Well, again, I did mention that because but the division factor to me is huge, Teddy. And the Indians have lost 3 of the last 5 games to the White Sox. And they talked about that, how they're not looking past this team because they've lost 3 of the last 5. So that division mentality for me, for the Guardians, again, they're a team that I do watch. They're a team that I listen to the local announcers. And they really do have a positive young vibe that I think is becoming contagious. So in this instance, I think they're too young and too hungry to look past anyone, especially a division foe, especially game 1 of a series.
Ralph, you've got a chart for us. I don't know what it's about, but any chart from Ralph is worth listening to. Fill us in.
Well, I had a Vegas bookmaker reach out to me yesterday and ask me for how favorites do on certain days. So I posted that on Twitter. Take a look. It's very interesting on my Twitter feed yesterday at CalSportsLV. But then I took it one step further and looked at how teams do off a loss based on series games, and then how they do off a loss as a favorite of minus 170 and higher in a series game. So the left side of the chart, you see off a loss as a favorite. The top one is off a loss as a favorite. Then it shows now playing series game 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means if you're looking at series game 1, they lost the last game of the previous series as a favorite. Now they're playing series game 1. Then in the green in the middle, off a loss as a home favorite. In the bottom, off a loss as an away favorite. A lot of information, a lot of data. But the one thing I want to point out to you here, Teddy and Prez, take a look in series game 1. If you lost the last game of the previous series as a home favorite, you are 47.9% with an average line of minus 119 as game 1 of the series at home. That's minus 9.3% ROI. And if you lost as a away favorite, you are actually positive. So the number one thing I'm taking out of this is playing a home favorite in series game 1 that lost the final game of a series has been a very, very solid fade at minus 9.3% ROI.
And so, Ralph, that's funny that because my takeaway was this. When we look at this chart, it stands out like a sore thumb. The favorites of minus 170 or higher, much better, much better than just teams off a loss as a favorite. So where does that tell us? That tells us that the value in MLB is often on the bigger chalk, minus 170, minus $2, minus $3. I talked myself out of playing the Dodgers in the last 2 games just because the price wasn't right, but the price was right to back the Dodgers. When you look at this chart, does this make you more willing to lay minus 180, minus $2, minus 250, knowing the value is legitimately there?
Teddy, I'm not afraid to use it. And people think value is dogs or you're getting value. You talked about it last week about, when we had your summer cookout and they had the McGregor fight and people were lining up to bet as much money as they can. A favorite is when where you have a line and this line is better than where your line is. So remember, as a minus 200 favorite, you need to win 66.7% of the games. And if you feel the Dodgers are in a situation where they're going to win 75% of those games, there is clear value, even if you're laying 200. So I'm never afraid to lay that. I do, if we got one extra second, I went down the rabbit hole a little bit. And just to tell our viewers real quick how I break down and find these very unique and strong situations. Dan, on the chart again, you have the chart up, Dan, my apologies. When I talked about off a loss as a home favorite in series game number 1, they're minus 9.3% ROI. That one thing I talked about on the left-hand side in the green. When I looked at teams that were rested, Teddy, off a loss as a home favorite, now playing series game 1, it goes to minus 15.2% ROI. If they have rest and they're on the road, it goes to minus 17.2% ROI. And listen to this. Since 2017, if you're off a loss as a home favorite, playing series game 1, and you're an away dog, you are minus 26.4% ROI, going 39 and 85, winning 31.5% of the time. So that's how I take a chart, keep looking at subsets, find that magical subset, and now I have a system that I have saved in my computer that is a minus 26.4% ROI and makes perfect sense to me.
Beautiful stuff. Ralph Micahels, everyone. Ralph, we've promoted you. We have talked about how great you are. Thank you for joining us, my friend. We will see you next week. Absolutely
Prez,
love having you on the show. Yes, sir.
Before we let you go, Ralph, what do you want to say?
My apologies. My apologies. One more thing. On Saturday, if anyone's in the Tampa Bay or St. Pete area,
Yes.
Viva Seltzer's having a meet and greet outside Trop Park. It's at Parks and Rec. Kelly will be there. Ariel will be there. I believe there's going to be a Joe Ranieri sighting, and I'm going to drive up there and be there as well. So if you're in that area before Saturday's game, the bar is called Park and Rec. It's about a mile east of Tropicana Field.
There you go. Ralph Micahels. Teddy Covers, want to make mention of all the great people in the chat room. So happy to see you guys, man, every day. Andrew, Ray, B Daddy, Daryl Turner. You guys make my day. Doing this show is the best part of my day every day. And it's not doing it with Teddy. It's doing it for you guys in the chat room and interacting in the chat room. Teddy probably doesn't even know there's a chat room that is attached to YouTube. Teddy, there is, and it's very busy, and there's a lot of love in there. So shout out to you guys. Hit that like button if you like what you're hearing. Subscribe to our channel, everyone. 153,000 people have subscribed. I'd like to get to 200,000 by tomorrow. It's time for your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown time. Unfortunately, this line has already moved. There were 6s last night. There were 6.5s this morning. Now we're seeing 7/7.5 for the Knicks and the Pacers game 3. And this is obviously a big deal game for Indiana. Look, the Pacers probably should have won game 1. The refs' calls went against them. They don't know if they were going to win game 2, but again, the refs' calls went against them. The Pacers submitted 78 plays to the NBA that they felt were called incorrectly during games 1 and games 2. Rick Carlisle got thrown out of game 2. And, it was a kickball violation. There was an error against the Pacers and didn't correct it. That cost them big time in the first game. Last time out, the game was tight throughout. And then there was another real dicey call. Rick Carlisle, quote, gosh, I lost my quote. Small market teams deserve an equal shot. They deserve a fair shot no matter where they are playing. And this is an issue for the NBA. It has been an issue for the NBA for 25 years. If there's one game that we can anticipate Indiana getting some calls in, it's probably going to be game 3. Tyrese Halliburton. Let's not pretend like officiating is the only reason we lost. We just didn't play good enough. We have to be better. This is a spot where Indiana is going to be as motivated as they've been in any game all season. It's a Knicks team that, again, they're playing without not one, not two, now three key guys, and Julius Randle, Bojan Bogdanovic, Mitchell Robinson, who's gotten hurt since the postseason began. Brunson got hurt yesterday. Anunoby has to go for an MRI today. We don't know what that result is, but based on the fact that the money's coming for Indiana, it tells me that if the results are out, they're not good just yet. And the Knicks have played ridiculous minutes for their starters, both regular season and here in the postseason. I mean, it's been an enormous bench advantage. The Pacers bench has outscored the Knicks bench by 77 points in the first two games of this series, despite going 0-2. When the series shifts to Indiana, I do expect the Pacers to make things competitive. Unfortunately, we're not getting the best of the number right now. Again, this number's moved in the last hour. It may move more. Indiana's the clear choice in Game 3 for this bet. Lawrence?
Teddy covers. What do you have going with the clients tonight?
I have a single best bet in the NBA for Thursday night. A top total play, 70% totals run in the NBA, and obviously up 220 units in the association since 2022, better than 60% in the postseason over the last 3 years, and riding a long-term, short-term and long-term runs. Anyhow, whatever. You guys know my deal. NBA has been pretty good. We lost last night. I expect to come back strong with a W this evening. Again, top total selection available right now, WT.buzz/TC.
Brother, I had one of those, as bad as my Edmonton loss was last night, 4% play on the Oilers, I had a 3% play in NBA. I want every play to be as easy as my 3% play was last night. Over 52 points, first half Indiana team total. I mean, who wants to sweat? Not me, man. I'm too old for this shit. I want this stuff over easy. We went over 52 with 6 minutes to go in the first half. Please let every bet I ever release be that easy. Kyle Anthony joining us. Kyle, it's UFC time. When does it end, bro? I don't want to see your face every damn Thursday.
Never.
Is this going on next week and the week after and the week after?
There's no off season. There's no off season for UFC. Is there?
That's the amazing part. Really, the off season is basically in between Christmas and New Year's. There's 3 or 4 weeks off, somewhere around there. Besides for that, there's 2 weeks here, 1 week here. So that's the great part about betting UFC directly, is just because not just betting all MMA organizations, but really hitting on where there's really the best fighters in the world, and probably your biggest edge, I think, is on UFC.
Kyle, just a quick shout out to Dan, our man in the background. Dan, there will be a PB today, a penalty box segment. So keep that in mind. Everybody stay tuned for that at the end of the show. Kyle, I don't know if you watched the Tom Brady roast. I thought it was spectacular. I thought it was needed. I thought it was old school. I thought it was politically incorrect. I thought it really just shoved the whole woke movement one of these. If you watched it, Dana White made an appearance. He roasted for a minute. I thought it was medium at best.
No, I actually didn't see it. I heard some clips and some stuff like that, but no, I didn't catch it. I heard it was good. I heard it was definitely a worthwhile watch.
Well, listen, dude, you were probably having an orgy at the time, so I fully understand. I mean, you're a busy man, Kyle. You got a lineup out that door. Okay, brother, let's get straight to it. You got 2 UFC picks for us. Derrick Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento. How was that? Did I do good?
You did good. I'm proud of you.
Okay, I'm thinking Nascimento. I think both of these guys need to do a little bit more chest workout, but who am I to say? How do we bet this fight?
All right, good advice, Fred. Good advice. So we got Derrick Lewis here. He's minus 150 on the comeback. You've got Rodrigo Nascimento around the plus 135 mark. Now, this is definitely going to be a grappler versus striker type of matchup here when you're looking at it. Rodrigo looking for takedowns, looking to utilize his high-level BJJ, as well as you've got Lewis looking to throw the bombs. Now, the biggest issue for me starting in this is really going to be just the inability for Nascimento to get takedowns. He averages it's a 33% takedown success rate, not that good, averaging a little over one takedown per 15 minutes. And really, that's his win probability, in my opinion, here. I think most of his equity is coming in, getting a takedown, looking for submissions, really smothering Lewis overall. But you even look at kind of what he's done over the last few fights. Most recently, Dontel Mays, Nascimento fought. He was 0 for 3 on takedowns. And I do not rate Mays very high. Even Alan Badeau, not very good. Also stuffed all 3 takedowns. And Lewis has a 58% takedown defense rate. I think that can hold up here. Also, even when he's on his back, he's very good getting back up to his feet, scrambling, muscling his way back up. Now, if this plays out on the feet, this should be a lot of damage that's landing for Lewis. I think Lewis is going to have the big power, the better shot. 27 wins, 22 by knockout. Good chance if he wins, it's going to be by knockout. And also the fact that Nascimento is extremely, extremely hittable. He averages about 5 strikes absorbed per minute, while you got Lewis at half of that. I do think that those shots are going to be there. And Nascimento clunky. I think the striking is not that good overall. And then lastly, you kind of look at competition level here, and he has not fought anybody good as in Nascimento. Beating Alan Badeau, as I said, terrible fighter overall. Tanner Boser is not UFC caliber, I don't think at all. He had a split decision win over Boser. Even Alir Latifi, 40 on his retirement fight, and he just loses a split decision to Nascimento. And then even Dontel Mays, as I said, this is a spot here where this is a massive step down in competition for Lewis. I think he lands the bigger shots. I think he stays at range as long as he can and land that damaging shot. So I do like Lewis via knockout. It's roughly around the minus 120, minus 130 mark right now. I think it's a good spot and a likely path to win.
So total in this bout, 1.5 rounds juice to the under. Is this a 5-rounder or a 3-rounder?
5.
Exactly. So what the markets are saying is this fight ain't going the distance. Would you look, though, which makes a ton of sense, we're looking at the KO prop. Would you look at under here as well, or is 1.5 juice to the under a little bit too short for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little too short for me here. I do think that Lewis is probably going to have to be a little bit timid early. I mean, yes, he always goes and blitzes in, but I think he's a little bit timid about the takedowns and has to kind of be a little bit more calculated. So I think this fight could get a little bit longer, but I think it could fall in that 2-3 range where Lewis finds that chin.
Kyle Anthony joining us, everyone. Kyle, we got one more fight to talk about. That's Borshchev versus Chase Hooper. Nice. I'm assuming the Russian is going to kill the American, right?
Good pronunciation on Hooper. I'm proud of you. So we have Viacheslav Borshchev
for a while.
We've got Viacheslav Borshchev. He's around minus 145. You got Chase Hooper, the underdog, plus 120. Now, this is another spot where I do believe it's going to be, again, grappler versus striker type of matchup here. You've got Borshchev, who's going to look to strike. Chase going to look for takedowns. Now, this line opened Borshchev around minus 200, and money has come in on Chase. And I do believe it's really the path to victory, really, for Chase, where he's going to look for takedowns, while Borshchev has shown an inability to defend takedowns. Now, over Borshchev's last 6 fights, including Dana White's Contender Series, opponents have been pretty successful, landing 28 takedowns of 44, definitely having an opportunity for those takedowns. Now, Borshchev is the striking coach for Team Alpha Male, and that's predominantly a wrestling gym. Now, I just think he has to improve that. I think with the guys at the gym, the guys that he can work with, he has to start improving some of those things. Now, on the other side, Chase only is at 22% takedown success rate. And I think the biggest red flag for him is that he just has no physicality. He doesn't have much strength. I think his entries to takedowns are sloppy, and that may allow this fight to play out on the feet. And if it does, I think Borshchev is going to have a massive advantage. He's a high-level kickboxer, great jab, high-level arsenal of kicks, just really good dictating the pace, mixing up his strikes, while Chase Hooper is absolutely sloppy on the feet. Not just the fact that he's sloppy at takedowns, his striking is terrible. I think it's very awkward. It's very slow developing. And I think that Borshchev can be able to kind of sprawl and brawl, defend the takedowns, work at range. This is not going to be the apex cage, the smaller cage in Vegas. This is a normal size cage. I think that assists Borshchev in kind of utilizing some of that space here. So I do like Borshchev. I think he gets the job done. And I think he does it inside the distance, keeps this fight standing, and gets the knockout. So I'm going Borshchev here via KO around the plus 115 mark. I think it's a good spot.
Now, let me ask you this, because you talked about the big move on this line. I mean, a $2 favorite is now a minus 140 favorite in a lot of spots, or minus, low as minus 135 at a couple of books here in Las Vegas. Is this a bet you make if he's a $2 favorite, or is this because the line has moved and there's legitimate value at the plus price for what we're asking here?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I thought the line was wide here and kind of was more of like a little bit of a stay away. And I actually thought, to be honest, I thought the line would probably get wider. The fact that it's come in and providing good value on his most likely path and knockout, I think that's a good spot here. And I get it again. I think it's mostly just because of that bias of the path to victory for Chase lines up with really a weakness for Borshchev. But again, I don't think that path works that well for to get it down. So I see why the line movement's there, but I think this line movement has provided a good opportunity to bet.
Kyle Anthony, everyone. Kyle, you've had an outstanding year so far betting the UFC. That is your sport. That is your core. What do you have going with the clients for this upcoming card?
Yeah, so this weekend got a 4% best bet right now on a 10-2 run on best bets, up about 35 units on the year, ROI around 20%. So really feeling good about it. Over the last 13 events, clients have cashed 11 of them. So we're finding spots, hitting, feeling good about it. Have a 4%, including 2 other ones right now. Normally, again, I always have about 4 or 5 spots that I bet. So I'll probably have about that come fight night.
Perfect. Beautiful. Kyle Anthony, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Teddy, I was on good behavior today, I felt. With all that Bon Jovi stuff throughout the week, I really wanted to keep this show tighter and show a more professional side. With that said, it's time for the penalty box segment. Daniel, son, cue it up. Hey, everybody, I'm Lawrence Presman from WagerTalk, co-founder. I have one bet to give out for you guys tonight. There are 2 NHL games. I just want to make mention that I had a rough night last night. I had a 4% play in the NHL on the Edmonton Oilers, and it lost. But I did win my NBA play, and my NBA playoffs have been amazing. My NHL season has been amazing. For my clients tonight, I have 1 NHL play, 1 NBA, and 1 baseball play. As for your free bet, I did put up 2 free bets yesterday on our free pick page. I also gave out 2 free bets yesterday on this very address. Both cashed. Let's continue that roll. A bottom line here is I'm looking to take the over in the Rangers and the Carolina game. Here's the bottom line. The Canes have scored 3-3, 6-2, 3-5, and 3 in the playoffs. Only 1 game in the playoffs have they scored less than 3 goals. And they're not stopping anyone. It's not like the Canes are winning these games 3-1, 3-2, 4-1. Defensively, they've allowed 3 or more goals in 4 straight playoff games and 3 or more goals in 6 of their 8 playoff games. As for the Rangers, they have scored 4 goals in every single playoff game this year except 1, and that was against Washington, where they scored 3. Both these teams have big-time offenses right now, and we've seen that with the scores that they're putting up. And they have talent up and down the lineup as well. The Rangers' power play has been lights out. They get 3 power plays tonight. They're getting 1 goal. Carolina's power play, they've been in the shitter, but they do not have a bad power play, and I think we'll see them turn it around. I like over the total in the Rangers and Carolina game. That's it for Wager Talk today. Thank you for watching. Teddy, my brother, take us home.
I'll take you home. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here with another episode of WagerTalk Today. Cheers.